Welcome to The Complete Angler. My name's JC Brooks, and I am sitting beside
The one and only Joe Long.
So, Jesus, I'm already okay. So, today we're doing a questions and answer or Q&A. There's going to be no boundaries, pretty much. It's not just going to be talking about certain
There's the
things.
script. As you can see, there's nothing on it.
Absolutely nothing. One line, number one.
So
After that we're just we're winging
That's where I drew the line.
it.
So he's gonna ask questions. I'm
gonna
try to provide the answer, and we're gonna go from there. So let's go ahead and shoot.
So, first question. What time of year do you think would be the best? Well, let me put it better. What month of the year do you think would be the best for fishing?
Fishing in general, a lot of people would say probably June. For me, as a bass angler primarily, I like July. And a lot of people don't like July. They said, oh, it gets too hot and blah, blah, blah. I've caught more big bass in July. Basically, if you don't catch big bass in spawn, you're going to catch big bass in July. And then September, they're getting ready for winter. They got the feed bag on, they're eating, and that's a good time to catch them. But for me, if I had to pick one month to fish, it would probably be July.
Okay, so you just led me right into my next question. You said whenever it's starting to get colder, you said September, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
You're still hunting for bass. What would be
yeah.
the best? What would be the best lure to use in that situation, and where at?
You mean which lake
Or like where at the lake, like
Oh,
shallow,
location,
mid, deep
okay.
location.
They're up and active because they're feeding. I would use a search bait that I could cast a million times and cover just tons of water. I would probably be looking at a chatterbait of medium size, with like a Guggen crack and crawl or a creature bait on the back. And where would I use it? I would use it primarily around the shoreline, around structure, rocks, trees, blowdowns, That's where bass like to hide. If you're in a river, you're going to look for current. You're going to see a place where there's slack water next to current. And it's basically like they get to go to the all-you-can-eat buffet. They just sit there and watch fish go by, and they want one, they just jump out and grab it. But yeah, chatterbait is a real good search bait. You can cast it a lot. It's like having a soft plastic, a jig, and a blade bait all in one. So it's a very good bait.
Next question is I believe we're in a pre-spawn, right?
Yep.
Okay. So
It is April 4th.
is it April 4th already?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
News to me.
And so right now we are pre-spawn. We just caught our first fish of the year 2 days ago. Yeah, Tuesday. So it's very, very cold. The water temp, I don't know exactly what it is.
It's
but
not. I can tell you right now. But last time I was out there, I guarantee it was under 40.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, for sure. And when I caught that fish, it felt like I was holding an ice cube when I was getting the hook out. So they're very cold, but the bluegill are starting to come up. So the lakes and ponds are starting to come alive, but it's very slow.
But if you were going to go out and fish if you were going to go out and fish today, what would you primarily be fishing for? What kind of fish?
Today, if I was going out, I'd be bluegilling with live bait for sure. Around here, I use worms. I covered it in a couple of videos back, but anyway, a little snout hook, with a bobber and a little piece of weight just to make the bobber stand true, and put about 1.5 inches of worm on it, wrap it, or hook it through a couple times, and you're going to look for a shallow location. If there's a back bay or creek arm, or like in the pond that I caught my first fish in this year, there's like a nice little shallowed out bay, and there's a bunch of grass growing on it, and I cast right up, basically right up next to the grass. It's only like 2 or 3 foot deep, and there were several bluegill there, and I luckily got one hooked.
So like I said, I'm gonna be jumping around.
Mm-hmm.
We covered. You said that your best month to fish, in your opinion, was July.
Yeah, for bass.
We talked about September. What about August? August, I believe, is more of a time where it's not so terribly hot where you're gonna die of a heat stroke in 30 minutes of standing out there.
August is pretty good too. It's not as good, in my opinion, from my experience, as July or September, because you're kind of in a mid-flow, basically. In other words, pre-spawn is slow, then spawn comes on, they're catchable, then they go into their normal routine, and that's kind of a lull. And then July is hot, they want to be up and active, and it's easier to catch. Then you have another lull, then you have winter's coming up, and their genetics or whatever their brain's telling them, eat, because we're going to be hibernating, basically. I mean, fish don't hibernate per se, but they go dormant.
Yeah, they don't do very much.
They go to the bottom of the pond or lakes where it's most heated through geothermal, I guess you'd kind of call it, and they try to stay as warm as they can. I mean, if you were trapped in a pond with a scuba thing, when it was freezing, you go to the lowest point or the warmest point, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, I'm going to use a little prop for this one.
Sure.
Because I'm already beginning to run out of ideas because I'm winging it. So, this is what my prop is.
Okay.
I believe this is supposed to mimic a crayfish.
Yep.
So, when would be the best month of the year to use this?
Well, it depends on your weather, and it depends what state you're in. In Texas, you'd be putting that away. And in Florida, you'd be putting that away. In Ohio, April is going to be probably the hot month for that, because pre-spawn. But you might as well call this... I mean, you could use the same time of year. I'm not going to say you can't catch fish on this in every month. But this is primarily a pre-spawn bait. I mean, it come in a Lucky or a mystery tackle box. Well, it says Lucky right on it, LTB. But it come in March. In March, a lot of our stuff was frozen solid.
Yeah.
So you're not going to catch a lot of fish on this. Even if you cut a hole in the ice and dangle it, you're not going to catch. You're going to have a hard time now, April 4th, going out and trying to catch bass because they are still.
It's the water. Yeah, the water's beyond cold.
It's so cold.
So, I just thought of another question. I just looked in one of your boxes. I saw worms. So, for a, let me think here. For July. No, I just saw worms in there.
Oh.
I'm just holding these because I'm thinking of a question for this too. You were talking about, we'll just go June now because I'm just jumping around months because why not? What color of worm, if you were going to use one, what color of worm would be the best and why?
June? I don't know of anything specific in June, but I'll tell you the 2 colors I've had the most success with. And that is a watermelon type green. And what I like to do, I have that dye, that chartreuse dye, and I dip the tail down in it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And I like a greenish color. It can be like an army green, or it can be like a pumpkin seed or watermelon green. but a little chartreuse on it I like a lot. And the other color I like a lot that I would not have thought I would like, I would not have thought it would have worked. I think it was in a mystery tackle box a year or two ago. They sent me this huge pack of pink worms. And I thought, pink worms, you know. And I rigged them up, and I caught so many bass with them. I think it was because it was a completely different color than what
It's curiosity.
was sold around here. Yeah. And, I mean, they would hammer them. But I wacky rigged them right in the middle, and they're longer than a Senko, and they're a little bit smaller diameter, so there's more action. And I had a lot of luck with them, so they kind of become a go-to. Last question, because we need to wrap up this vid.
All right, so we got, how are these actually? These, right? Vertical shad.
Soft plastic shad, yeah.
So, what would these be used best for?
In lakes that have shad, what I would use primarily, if you see shad popping on the surface, that means there's fish underneath, bigger fish, game fish, popping underneath. And you'd take something like that, you could either put it on a chatterbait or just a jig head, or rig it, Texas rig, the way it is, and run it through within shad. That'd be a good way to catch fish. When you see like a school of shad popping, then you know there's probably a bass or a walleye or something in there. That'd be a good bait for that. Alright, very good vid here. Thanks for watching. Remember to...
Still me? Okay. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, take a kept fishing.
We'll see you on the lake.